In the previous example, we've seen how easy it is to create a grid view based page, which can be used for viewing records, but also for deleting records. And now we're going to do one where it allows you to edit records as well. Probably instead of posting, the postings paper functionality is not the one where we need to be able to edit so much, but probably we would be like to be able to have some administration page for editing the list of papers. For example, changing abstracts or changing the titles or something like that, or deleting some of the papers as well. So let's do this. We're creating an administration page for editing of papers. We're going to kind of right click, choose add, new item. It's going to be a web form as usual. Let's call it edit, lowercase, edit paper. Okay. And in there, which is as usual, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the design view. We're going to drag in a grid view control again. So we're just going to drag the grid view into the major sort of paragraph of the page. When this grid view comes up, as it will eventually, what we're going to do now, we're going to look at do the same. We're going to kind of create the data source. So we're going to base the data source on the table containing paper. So let's just call it a DB again. It doesn't really matter really what name we give to it, because this is just a page specific thing. That's the connection string. Don't need to save the connection. And so what we're going to do is going to base it on the papers table. Okay. Now we have to, although we might not want to show the ID, we have to bring it up in the list of fields that we're going to do. We won't bother with the week, the abstract, the introduction, the hyperlink. We won't bother with the user either. Okay. So these are the fields we're going to bring in. Okay. Go to the advanced tab and make sure we do insert update and delete statements, because this will give this extra functionality to our grid view that we need. Let's test the query. Let's make sure we can see everything. There, we've got everything. That's fine. Okay, click finish. Okay, so now we've got our page with the grid view on it. So we're going to say enable editing. So it's going to have an edit button by the side of each kind of sort of like row, so that'll allow us to edit those pages. Let's kind of, before we do anything else, let's just drag our CSS file over the page, and that'll make the page, the look and feel of the grid view control similar to what we've got. And so having done that, we can now play it. Click on the play button. This will bring it up in the browser. And we'll look at it. Look at the kind of thing. Now remember, there's a lot of data in this. These kind of fields, like the abstract and the intro, there are quite a lot of text. So this is going to be significantly more complicated than the things we've done so far. It's going to, at least a much richer amount of data is going to appear in the table. So as we're waiting to log in to the page, it shouldn't take too long. Here it is. So as you see, there it is. There's our ID, our author, title, abstract, intro, hyperlink. We click on the edit button, okay, and then you see that row does indeed become editable, but probably not in the way that we think is very, very useful, I don't think. Because as you see, the kind of the text field is very, very small, and although it's okay for things like maybe the author and the title, for the abstract and the intro, that I don't think is a particularly useful way to do it. I've just typed in a silly word like the defo. I'm going to type in definitely, which is the correct way of writing that thing. And I click update, and definitely has gone back into the thing. So it's definitely working. But what we need to do is make it somehow that those bigger fields are not just shown in this kind of bog standard single line, very small text box. But how are we going to do that? Well, essentially, what we do is we go back into the page and click on the grid view control again, and then let's click on edit columns. Okay, and when we click on, say for example, the abstract here, you'll notice there's a little line here: convert this field into a template field. Now what that does, when you convert something into a template field, you then have much more freedom to control how the whole thing looks. Okay, you lose access to this easy, simple way of specifying certain visual facts. but on the other hand, you gain a lot of power as well. So if I convert that into a template field, again, you see you lose all of this. Click OK. But what you do gain in return, if you go into the source, what you'll see shortly is that there, the part which says abstract has been converted, instead of being an ASP bound field, which is what the most of the fields are, which is if like our standard way of displaying data. We've got instead a template field where we have the ability now to specify some alternate things. Like for example, what we have is an item template, which is how it looks when it's not being edited. So what we've got there is an ASP label, label one server. So they're basically a label essentially. But here we've also got here text box run at server text equals bind abstract. So now what we can do here, since this is just by, if we put our mouse here, we've got we can associate all the values that we typically do with text boxes. And one thing we can definitely do is make it into a multi-line text box, so that it's not just one line. Okay. So now if we do that, and maybe just say make the rows equal to 5. I'm not sure whether this actually does work, actually using rows in this context, but I mean you can always use CSS if it doesn't. But anyway, so that having done that, then so now we've actually specified that when it runs in edit format, it's going to be a text box, it's going to be a multi-line text box, and it's going to have 5 rows in it. So let's see if that does something like that. Okay. So here it comes in the page. Now, click on now, it says abstract, now click edit. Now you see you have a much more easily editable page here. So this is definitely a version of the computer written in Mark. So it takes about 6 lines. Now, because there isn't much space, I mean, I'm trying to make it small for the video, etc. I mean, this probably still isn't absolutely ideal. But as you see now, what we can do by doing this, we've got a much more easily usable way to edit the page. So this is I'm going to type in definitely, I'm going to type in certainly. Okay, and so I'm going to click update, and this is certainly the vision, and that's now worked. Okay, now the same sort of thing is probably also applicable to the intro field. So we can go back into our mobile standards page and do exactly the same thing with the intro. So again, come out of the design view, choose edit columns, go down into the intro, convert it to a template field, click OK, and then now go back into the source where we can change. So we can do exactly the same things. Let's show multi-line rows equals 5. We're going to copy it from the field we've already done and put it into the edit item template for the intro part. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, so take my multi-line, and now if I stop this and restart it again, play. What should happen now is that I'm both allowed to be able to edit in proper multi-line format, both kind of things. So let's click on edit. Okay, so now both intro and abstract are in this quite nice editing mode. Okay, so I've had it computing. We'll just kind of like put that in there. Click update, and now I've got a page which is more or less what I want.